Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Light and Shadow podcast. I'm deeply honored to be here with you again in this sacred space where we unravel the tangled threads of healing together. Whether this is your first time joining me or you've been walking with me on this journey, thank you for showing up, for choosing presence, for choosing yourself. Before we dive in, a gentle but important reminder. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy or professional medical advice. The work I share is spiritual and energetic in nature, meant to support your inner healing, not replace the care of licensed medical professional. If you are struggling with deep trauma, I lovingly encourage you to seek out a mental health professional. I'm your host, seer, Reiki master, and intuitive healer, and everything I share here is offered with devotion. Through Reiki, candle work, and deep soul guidance, I help clients clear energetic patterns, cord cuts that no longer serve, and remember the truth of who they are. You can find my offerings and book a session with me in the description box below. And join me on TikTok at Great Ethereus for daily rituals, energy insights, and gentle reminders that your healing is holy. Today, we're speaking to the part of you that keeps choosing unavailable love, even when you swear you won't do it again. You know the pattern. They pull you in with charm, mystery, intensity. They say just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to feel fully seen. They're hot, then cold, present, then distant. You crave closeness, but they create space. And deep down, a quiet voice whispers, "Why am I doing this again?" Let's talk about that voice. Let's talk about why we attract emotionally unavailable people and what it's really teaching us. Because this isn't about blame, this is about awareness. And awareness is the beginning of freedom. This isn't about fixing others, it's about finally showing up for the version of you that's been left waiting. Let's go deeper beyond the buzzword. What is emotional unavailability really? Emotional unavailability isn't just someone who ghosts, avoids labels, or says they're not ready. No, it's much more tender than that. It's a nervous system response, a deeply wired coping strategy, a soul that learned somewhere along the way that intimacy equals danger, vulnerability equals risk. So instead of opening, they armor up. It looks like staying just close enough to keep the connection alive, but not enough to feel exposed. Talking about emotions without actually feeling them. Showing up physically, but being absent energetically. Using charm, wit, work, or chaos to distract from what's really alive underneath. Sometimes it looks like confidence. Sometimes it looks like emotional intelligence. Sometimes it looks like hot and cold mixed signals. But underneath all of it is one truth. Emotionally unavailable people don't feel safe in their own hearts, so they don't know how to hold yours. And here's the most important part. If you find yourself magnetized to this kind of energy, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you have bad taste. It doesn't mean you're addicted to pain. It means something in them feels familiar to your unhealed parts. Familiar like the parent who wasn't emotionally present, but You kept trying to please. The early relationship where you learned that love came in waves, not roots. The story you wrote in childhood that said, if I try harder, maybe they'll stay. It's not about shame, it's about awareness. Because awareness is how we break the cycle. So ask yourself gently, what feels familiar about this dynamic? Where have I tolerated inconsistency in the past? And am I mistaking longing for love? Because once you see it, once you name it, you get to choose something new. You get to create a new pattern rooted in mutual availability, not emotional scarcity. You get to become someone who says, I'm no longer available for people who aren't available for themselves. Let's go deeper, beautiful soul. Because attraction isn't always conscious, it's energetic. It's ancestral. It's wired into the nervous system long before we ever swipe right or say yes to a coffee. You may be attracting emotionally unavailable people, not because you're broken, not because you're unworthy, but because somewhere along the way this dynamic became familiar. Maybe you were raised in a home where love had conditions, where presence could turn to distance at any moment, where affection came with performance and approval came with silence. If love in childhood came in waves, affection one moment, withdrawal the next, your body may have mistaken inconsistency for intimacy. You're not chasing connection, you're chasing closure you never got. You're chasing the ending of a story that never resolved. And your inner child says, maybe this time, if I love harder, they'll stay. Maybe you learn to earn love, to dim your emotions, to be the caretaker, the achiever, the fixer. And so now, unconsciously, you're drawn to people who require work, who don't make it easy. Because that difficulty mirrors what love has always felt like, a test you have to pass. You're not choosing people who are hard to love. You're choosing people who make you prove it. And if you carry abandonment wounds, sometimes it's safer on a deep cellular level to choose people who are unavailable. Because if they leave, it won't hurt as much. Because part of you already expected them to. Because a part of you whispers, see, I knew I wasn't enough. And perhaps the most overlooked truth of all is this. You may be emotionally unavailable to yourself. You may silence your truth to avoid confrontation. You may abandon your needs to maintain peace. You may stay in places that deplete you because the idea of being alone feels louder than your own voice. So the universe, in its strange and sacred wisdom, keeps sending you mirrors, people who reflect what's happening inside. People who don't choose you because you haven't fully chosen you yet. But here's the invitation: to pause, to breathe, to tell your body, we don't have to chase love anymore. We don't have to perform. We don't have to survive it. We are allowed to be met. We are allowed to be chosen. We are allowed to feel safe. That's when the pattern begins to shift. When you stop confusing adrenaline for affection. When you stop choosing what's familiar and start choosing what's true. When you realize you don't need to heal others to be loved. You just need to love the parts of you that still believe they have to. Let's be honest. Some people have no idea they're attracting emotionally unavailable patterns. Because on the surface, these relationships don't look dysfunctional. The connection might feel exciting, deep, even spiritual. You might have amazing chemistry, long conversations, moments of intense connections. But beneath it all, there's a quiet ache, a yearning that never fully gets met. Here's what emotional unavailability can actually look like. You fall for people who aren't ready or just got out of something. You always feel like you're giving more, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You rarely feel safe expressing your needs, so you don't. You bond through shared trauma, but not shared healing. You confuse deep conversations with deep connection. And you're left wondering, what are we? But you're afraid to ask. Now pause, beautiful soul. And here's the hardest truth. We don't just attract emotionally unavailable people by accident. Often we attract them because some part of us is unavailable too. Even if we say we want deep love, even if we think we're ready, on a subconscious level, we might still be avoiding intimacy because we equate closeness with loss. Or distrusting our emotions because we were never taught they were safe. Or choosing almost love because real love feels too exposed, too risky. The universe isn't punishing you when it brings these partners into your life. It's mirroring you, reflecting your readiness, showing you where you are still withholding love from yourself. And that's not shameful, it's illuminating. It's sacred. Because the moment you recognize the mirror, you reclaim your power. So ask yourself gently, where in my life am I emotionally unavailable to myself? When do I silence my truth to avoid rejection? Do I keep saying I want love but only open the door halfway? What would it look like to be fully available to me? Because the moment you become emotionally available to yourself, your frequency shifts, your standard changes, and what you attract rises to meet you. Let this be the day you stop chasing someone who won't open up and start opening up to yourself. Let me tell you about a client. We'll call her Aisha. Aisha came to me in the quiet aftermath of her third breakup. Not with someone cruel, but someone consistently unavailable. A man who was kind on the surface, but never really present. She told me through tearful pauses. He never truly saw me. I kept shrinking, hoping I'd become small enough to be loved. She had spent so long molding herself, swallowing her needs, muting her truth, turning her ache into effort, not because she lacked love, but because somewhere deep in her bones, she believed love had to be earned. As we began our work together through Reiki sessions, heart-clearing rituals, and soul-level intuitive coaching, an origin story became to emerge. Her father was not cruel. He was not violent. He was, in many ways, good. But he was emotionally absent, always busy, always tired, always distracted. She adored him. And because children don't stop loving their caregivers, they stop loving parts of themselves. Aisha internalized the wound. If I am more perfect, more quiet, more helpful, maybe he'll notice. And so began the pattern. As an adult, she kept choosing emotionally distant partners. Not because she wanted to suffer, but because her nervous system whispered, "This is what love feels like. This is where I know how to exist." We did deep inner child work in returning to the parts of her that learned invisibility was safer than rejection. We worked with her breath, with her body, with her boundaries. And then one day, something shifted. We created a self-love altar together, a sacred space where her soul could be witnessed by herself first. She began lighting a custom Reiki-infused candle each night with the whispered affirmation, "I am already worthy of devotion, not for what she gives, not for how well she performs, not for how little space she takes up, but simply for who she is." And soon after, someone new appeared in her life. Handsome, charming, mysterious, the kind of energy she used to be pulled toward. He sent mixed signals, flattered her, then disappeared for days. But this time, Aisha didn't shrink. She didn't spiral. She didn't chase. She paused. She breathed. She remembered. My heart deserves to be held, not questioned. My worth is not up for negotiation. And just like that, she walked away. Not out of bitterness, not out of pride, but out of reverence for her healing. That, beautiful soul, is what this work is about. Not just changing who we attract, but changing who we become. Not just avoiding the pattern, but embodying the version of ourselves that will never shrink again to be loved. Take a journal or simply place a hand over your heart and ask yourself, what did love look like in my earliest memories? Where do I feel most unseen? In relationships. And when did I first feel that way? What parts of me still believe that love has to be earned? And do I abandon myself to avoid being abandoned by others? Write what comes, no judgment, just truth. Because truth is the doorway to transformation. Some patterns don't live in your logic. They live in your nervous system and the parts of you that flinch when love gets too close. They live in your energy field, echoing stories you didn't mean to carry, but somehow inherited anyway. You don't break those patterns by just thinking your way out of it. You clear them. You soften them. You tend to them like old roots that need gentle unearthing. This is the work I do with my clients through Reiki, sacred rituals like cord cutting and intuitive coaching. We don't chase love. We don't beg for closure. We call the energy home. We work with the heart, the real heart, the one that learned to close to survive, the one that now longs to open, but doesn't know how to feel safe doing so. And we create space for the soul to say, no more, not like that, not at the cost of myself. We practice remembrance, rituals that don't just clear what's no longer yours to hold, but remind you who you were before you forgot how worthy you are. Because healing is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the truth, that you're always enough, that love doesn't require abandonment, that your heart is not too much. It's simply been waiting for the right hands to hold it. And before those hands arrive, you become those hands. You can book a custom candle work or Reiki session with me. Details are in the description below. We'll work together to clear the roots of your patterns and anchor the love you truly deserve. Let's take a deep breath together. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Breathe in. I am safe in my love. Breathe out. I release what is not love. As you breathe, imagine threads of energy returning to your heart from every person, place, or moment where your love was never fully received. See those threads dissolving, transmuting, and gently coming home to you. Whisper, I call all of me back. I am whole. Now repeat after me. I no longer chase unavailable hearts. I choose the love that mirrors my wholeness. I release the fantasy and return to reality. I am already enough. I am already home. Beautiful soul, you are not too much. Your depth is not a burden. Your longing is not weakness. Your desire to be met, to be held, to be truly seen, that is not asking too much. It is asking for truth. It is asking for resonance. It is asking for connection where your soul can breathe, not shrink. And that is sacred. If this episode stirred something within you, if it cracked something open or helped something soft return, I invite you to like, follow, and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Love does not require your silence. Love does not require your self-abandonment. Love, real love, requires your wholeness. You can explore my offerings in the description box below. Whether you're called to Reiki sessions, custom candle work, or sacred one-on-one intuitive coaching, I am here to walk this path with you. And if you'd like to join me in real time, head to TikTok at Grey Ethereus, where I share daily rituals, energy check-ins, and spiritual guidance to help you stay aligned with your truth. And next time on the Light and Shadow podcast, we'll be exploring a soul-shifting topic: how to trust your intuition, especially after gaslighting, doubt, or disconnection, because your inner voice isn't gone. It's just waiting to be heard again. So be sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss it. And until then, the magic is already within you. You are more powerful than you know. Until next time.